Hi there, this is Daniel with In Time Country Living, and on this video I want to share with you guys kind of an update. I've done a video before on kind of drying pears and things like that, but over the years I've also made little adjustments and things like that that may help you guys to dry your own fruit. And so this time of year all the Bartlett pears are getting ripe, and so it's a real push right now to get those taken care of, preserved for the rest of the year, because if we don't, they're all going to rot here within a few weeks. So they're already starting to lose a few, getting overripe because it was over the weekend and getting here on Sunday. We already started to do some, and so it's now Monday and trying to get all the trays of our dryers full. And so I wanted to share with you guys just a little bit about how to dry pears, at least the most effective way that I found, so may be able to help you. Okay, so some of the tools that are useful to have when you're drying fruit for paring it up is a good paring knife. This is a Dexter Russell one. These are fairly inexpensive, maybe $8 or $9. But they have very high quality steel on them. They're a little bit difficult to find, but this is, I think, Santa Safe is the style of them. Has a nice, fairly plastic handle. The only thing I don't like about these is that they tend to be very symmetrical, and so sometimes you grab the knife like this and you're like, oh, I have it upside down, and so it's kind of hard to know because the handle feels symmetrical, and so it's hard to know exactly what position you have. But other than that, the steel quality is very good on it. The Hinkle knives, I also have a Hinkle knife, and they're about equal as far as the steel quality on there. I get these all sharpened up before we do a lot of drying so that they're efficient to use and they're not going to slip and slide, and you want it to grab the fruit and not slip and things like that, which can allow you to get cut. But you also have to be careful as well. Another one that I like to use is called a Pear core, and so these are very useful to have in removing the core and any bad spots or things like that you want to remove out of there. So there's one manufacturer of these. You'll see these. There's one with a blue handle that's still made, and so you can usually find that online. I think Amazon still has a version of it, and there's probably other stores that have it available. But these are, some of these are antiques, and so you can find these in the thrift store and things like that if you know what you're looking for and know the shape and kind of what it looks like. If you get good pictures of it and go looking for these in the thrift stores, a lot of times you can find them. So when you're doing this for hours, it's good to have a good setup, convenient, moving through a process so that you're not stretching and reaching and leaning over and things like that, because your back gets really tired. At least mine does. In stretching and reaching for things and awkward positions. So you want to have everything close to you here, and sometimes even the angle that you're cutting at. If you're down low and you're cutting like this and your wrists are at bad angles, you're going to get sore wrists and things like that. So a lot of times I'll put extra cushions on my chair to kind of boost myself up, so I'm just more, have a nice ergonomic setup here, because kitchen chairs tend to be a little bit low, on the low side there, so you want to boost it up maybe a little bit with some cushions to get yourself in a good process here. So the core items here that you need, so the first step is to have a water source, a bowl or something like that, or a basin or bucket. Something, actually buckets, I think, something that's fairly vertical works better than something that's fairly shallow, because it's less likely to slosh and spill. So this is just a 15-pound bucket of dishwashing detergent that was given to us, and it works. I think it's like a 2.5 gallon or something like that, somewhere in that range, or a 2 gallon. It works fairly well for that, but we have other bowls, just bowls like this, just something that you can put maybe 10 or 12 pears in at a time with water in there. Usually you fill it about half full, and and then the pears will bring up the level a little bit. But that's something to wash, wash the pears, get the dust off and anything else that may be on there. Just kind of soak them a little bit, and then you pull it and swish them a little bit as you take it out. Rub it a little bit if need be, but most of the time just soaking it in the water. By the time you pull it out, all the debris is kind of floated off to the bottom, and then you change the water occasionally. So that's the first thing you need, some water to soak them into, and then cutting board. So just some kind of small wooden cutting board or a plastic one or whatever you like. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Something big enough that you can store a few pears on there at a time, so it's efficient. So rather than just grabbing one pear out and doing it, it's good to go and grab several of them, maybe up to 4 or so, whatever will fit on your board conveniently, to try to be more systematic about it so that you're efficient in your actions. You're not switching tools, putting one down, picking up the other. You're not doing this over here and then doing this and then, all this thing. You want to try to do, one job, quite a bit of one job, and then move on to another job and do quite a bit of that one. So first stage would be to take a paring knife. So then the next thing you want to have is a place to put all the scraps, things that you're not going to be using. So want to be having a container. Now I like to use something that's fairly flat. If you have something little taller, then you're up here, lifting up your arms a lot further, and it's more tiring. So if you have something like these little Pyrex containers or a casserole dish or something fairly low that you can just be over the top doing your stuff over here, and then not have to be lifting your hands up any higher than they need to be. So that's something to keep in mind. And then having a place to your trays, a stack of trays. So usually I try to keep the stack as low as possible, because again, you get up here on top putting stuff on, your arms get tired of lifting for hours. So trying to keep everything as low as possible is the benefit. So I put maybe get 4 trays up, and then I go put them on the dryer, and then I add just one at a time. So in this case I have 2 empty ones, which I wouldn't normally have. I'd have just like one, set that off to the side, and work on just the base level here on the top of the tabletop. So set them on there, grab another one, and put that start filling that one up, and then when I get to maybe 3 or 4 or whatever, whenever it starts to be uncomfortable lifting my arms, then I'll go take them and put them on the dryer there. So anyway, so these are actually some very nice pears. Majority of the ones that we got are quite scabby, and but these just that I grabbed in this box over here just happened to be a little bit nicer here. So for the video, you get to see a little bit nicer pears than we normally have to deal with here. So anyway, you're basically going from, you want a stable pear. You want to go ahead and just have it usually on the base here, and you just want to go right next to the stem, and then you have your pear open like that. And so then you can take your what you call a Snoopy dog or a pear core, and go ahead and take the small end and hook it underneath the stem if it has the stem side, or on the other side. Then you can just go ahead and drag it down over the stem here, just to take a little bit of the fibers out of that part. And then you want to flip it around real quick, so you can get used to using your thumb and finger to kind of flip it over real quick to make it efficient. And then you want to use your thumb as your prying part here. That really makes it really easy. It's much easier than trying to go forward away from yourself. And it's harder to control it. So you have minute control when you can have kind of a squeezing action there. So then you can try to just hook underneath the seed cavity here, and kind of just pull it up and let it come away. And then if there's a flower end, then you can go ahead and just quickly take that out, or if there's something bad or something like that, you can quickly just nip some hard stuff out of there or anything that's undesirable for drying. And you can take that out. And then same thing on the other side there. This side has a stem, so you can hook it, or you can just use your finger and thumb there and pull it and try to peel that out of there. And then use the white area to hook it and pull a little bit. If it looks like it's tearing too much, you can just go ahead and cut it out, prevent it from tearing too much out of there. Each pear is a little bit different, so you kind of have to judge how much it is there and just kind of pull it off the end there and get the stem part as well. And then you kind of flip it over and look for any bruises or anything else that needs to be removed there. This isn't anything bad. This is just a little bit of fungus in there, and so it's not anything you have to worry about removing. And this one's a fairly clear pear. There can be other ones that have a lot of scab on them that I wouldn't bother too much on trying to remove it. It's just going to be too time consuming for any advantage that you may receive from, or nice looking. So just basically cutting through, pulling the stem on the stem side, pull a little bit, just try to get it out of there. This one has a worm in there, so it has a little canal. Now the one nice thing about a pear core is that you can remove that out of there without, disrupting all the other good part of the pear. Usually I flip it over and try to match it up where that is, and then take the small portion and just kind of gouge in and try to excavate out. So now you can see the hole there. So now you can just go down a little bit deeper, kind of push that through. So now we have just a little hole in there. I've cleared out that area and clear off any worm poop in there that you may see in there, and you can just rinse it too. Use your bucket of water there to rinse it if there's anything in there that's you need to clean off. So usually I want to do my paring over a container like this, so that all the scraps go directly in here and keep them off my board and keep the board clean. So just gonna do a quick paring of this one here as well, and this one seems to be fine and clean on this side. Look on the back side to see if there's any holes I need to worry about or anything like that. Okay, so then we're ready to cut these up. So I've done many different ways. I've done little slices, and the only problem I've found with the slices is that it's hard to get them dry enough, but not overly dry. They dry faster, so you can get them off the trays faster, but you also can't get as much fruit on the trays at a time. And so just for kind of blocking my time out and not having to do in the morning and then fill the trays up, take the fruit off in the evening and do another round of it. Just try to keep it to once a day, either morning or evening or something like that. And just let the dryers do more of the work for me, so it's less time consuming. And I think I get through the fruit a little bit better, get more fruit dried because I can get more on the trays. Also, having slices more like this thickness here allows them to be a little bit thicker and more fruit there when you actually go to eat it, and it's more a little bit softer, and doesn't get crispy. Once these get crispy, they get very hard and tough like leather, and even tougher than leather, and so they can be very hard. You have to rehydrate them in a bowl of water or something like that, or if you put them in cereal, you put them in the bottom of a bowl, put some oats on top, add water, cook them for 2 minutes or so, and it'll soften them up. But just eating them raw is not very. You can eat about 5 or 6 and you get tired of them real quick. So having them a little bit thicker makes them a little bit nicer. I think not sure I even have any. Well, I think I might have a few here. Let me get one here for you to see what it looks like when it's dried. Okay, so this is kind of what they look like when they're dried. When they are more this size, they go down to something about this size. And so these are quite a bit more flexible. and chewy and a little more enjoyable to eat. Easier to stop the drying process on them. This would be cut the other way, so it'd be cut across like this, cut little slices. So this is kind of what they look like. And they're cut in that way, and you can get them if you're very careful and watch. Keep checking them. You can get them okay, and they'll be, not quite as hard, but they do get hard very quickly once they get to dried down to this stage. This one's not too bad, but they can get very crispy and crack when you break them and things like that very easily if you let them go a few more hours or do them overnight, and you wake up in the morning and they're already crispy, and then you got hard pears. So I tend to like this style a little bit better, and I think you get go through a lot more pears and more compact way to store them as well. So anyway, method I'm going to show you is the kind of the elongated method here. So that means you want to go ahead and just do it down the middle, and usually start at the base. That's easy to pick across, or however you want to do it. I don't think it really matters. Just find the middle and cut it like that, and then you want to go ahead and just find the middle between the base here and the top, and find the middle there. And you want to do it, not cut it down. You're not cutting down, you're cutting into it at a 45-degree angle into it. And so then we're cutting the tip. It can be a little bit of a challenge to try to get that tip cut in half at first. So it takes a little practice to work on getting that little tip in. If you want to go this way, you can start there, and that may be easier for you to try to get that tip and then kind of go around, and then you have little wedges. So then it's fat on this end and pointy on this end, so you get a wedge. Okay, so then just laying them on the tray. So since we have kind of a wedge in two different directions, we have a fat end up here and more of a pointy end down here. So we're going to, just because of just the way things lay, we want the fat end to be on the outside, and then so they can be all compact, and you keep them all going the same direction, you'll have better luck at packing more in there. So you can just kind of work them in there and get them all at a little space and not on top of each other, but and that's usually most trays can accommodate that height fairly well. Sometimes you'll have to cut them in half again. Like this particular one got a little bit too fat, so I'll probably want to cut that in half there. Cut that in half, and then go ahead and just put that on the tray there. And then once you get the first round done, so then once you get the first round on the outside done, you can start doing a little bit of a diagonal on the inside here. So usually I just pick a direction and try to keep consistent, so it's not having to fight with it, and just try to line them up like that. Just kind of a little bit of an angle on the inside there. Let me do another one here. Okay, so then I put the next one like so. So again, putting the fat side on the outside here, and the tip towards the middle there. And just keep going around here until we get to the end here. Cut another one up here, and another one real quick. Okay, so just keep laying them out on the tray like this. And when you get to the end, just start doing more horizontal and just try to work them in there. Figure out a way to, so now we have a flat spot here, a fat spot here, and a little bit narrow spot, so I'll just encourage this one to go in like that and find a spot. If that one's too big, I say, oh, well, got another smaller one here. We'll just find a smaller one to work it in there, try to use up all the space as much as possible on the tray there. So anyway, that's quite a few pears you can fit on one tray there. This is one of our Nezco dryers here, American Harvest type here. So these have the fan and the heating element in the top here, and that blows down and kind of circulates around. It goes to the outside first and comes around, hits that, and then gets sucked up the middle. So each one has the the circular place in the middle, so the air is coming up here. See, it's getting sucked in through this little fan here. This is the intake, and this is the out blowing out of here. So it comes up here. Let's see here. I think that's then it kind of goes directly as it goes into each tray. Goes through the edge here, and then there's a little bit of a lip, so it blows across the fruit, and then goes to the center. The air goes up to the center, and then passes through here again, and then kind of circulates a few times before it finally. There's vent holes on the bottom where it finally exits, gets the moisture. But they're fairly efficient as far as reusing the heat and the air and stuff like that. Going through a few times before it finally exits down at the bottom of here, and you'll feel kind of moist air coming out of the bottom. And then I usually set the temperature at about 135 degrees, which is recommended for fruit drying. And so we just fill these up. This particular dryer, it's about 500 watts, and doesn't have a super powerful fan. It's very quiet, so that's one of the advantages of it. I'll show you another of the Presto ones, which I actually like a little bit better. These trays are also a little bit more fragile. They can get distorted from heat. We've had quite a few of them warp, and then they also crack too. And so that's one disadvantage of this type of plastic, is that it kind of warps and can crack very easily. Okay, so I'm out on my front porch here. We have a nice little cement steps out here, so this makes a nice level place, and I have an outlet right here on the wall here that I can plug stuff into. These Presto ones, which have a fan in the bottom and the heating elements in the bottom there, and they blow up. These are a little bit more noisy because they have a more powerful fan, and so they can be a little bit grating on the ears after a while in the house. But also, since it's still hot out, we can use the heat and the dryness of the outside air, which is usually a little bit drier than it is inside during this early fall here, the last part of the summer. Not quite fall yet, but it's getting there. So we can use that to help dry the fruit a little more efficiently. So in the positive air pressure coming out of these keeps the insects from flying in there. So I never had any case where I see any flies or anybody else getting inside there, because there's always, wherever there's a crack, there's air coming out of it, and so they're not able to crawl in. And so that works fairly well here. So I actually have you'll notice that there's, so the Presto trays are these white plastic ones, and they're more of a polypropylene, I think. They're more of a flexible. You can flex the plastic on them, and they don't seem to be very prone to cracking. They're much more sturdy, and also they're alternating trays, so they stack up. There's two different types, and they stack into each other, so they can pack down when storage. Rather than having a big stack like this you got to store, they go down to just a few, maybe 6 inches tall or something for the amount of trays you have here. The trays are a little bit more expensive, but I think they're worth it. A much better system. So these are 750 watts. So they're a little higher wattage, but it's definitely worth it to get the drying process is much faster on these. Maybe almost twice as fast. But they're actually compatible with the other Nesco trays. If you do it just right, if you find the right type, right tray to line it up with, they do line up, and you can. It's not perfect, but the diameter fits, and the air circulation works the same way. It's just in reverse.
well, not really reversed. It's still coming up on the outside and blowing to the inside and going down instead of going up. That's the only reverse part of it. But I tend to only put a certain amount on the other Nesco one because it just doesn't dry as fast. And so I can get a lot more going by just stacking them using the Presto dryer here to get these other trays dry. Just try to use every tray we have available. Some of these, like these clear ones here, these are one I just found at the thrift store. They're very common ones, so I grab up any tray I can find because they're kind of expensive. I think it's the Presto ones. I think they're up to like $14 for 2 trays or something like that. So like $7 a tray. So they can get kind of expensive after buying. You buy 10 of them, it gets a little expensive. So I want to talk briefly about why I am taking the time out of my day to process fruit rather than just buy fresh at the store. So this is just something that I have done growing up, and I learned from my parents about how to do, and they learned it from their parents, how to process fruit, how to do canning and drying and things like that. And so one of the benefits of it is that it really cuts down on the expense. Fruit is fairly expensive, and trying to get fresh fruit throughout the year, it can really add up. And there's always these other, temptations in the store where all these more expensive fruits are available, and you're always partaking because we can get a little bit of this or a little bit of that. More exotic fruits that aren't local, just because you want, get a little extra variety in our diet. But there's so much that you can get from, prunes and pears and apples and blackberries. They have such, even just that has a wide variety of nutrition in them that you really don't need to have all these extra fruits, citrus and things like that, or you can get lemon juice or something like that in a bottle to give you, the benefits of citrus without the, continual expense of buying oranges and lemons and, the fresh stuff like that. And so you can, have a very healthy life just by having the simple fruits that are available in your area that you can have access to, that you can grow yourself. So that's one of the main benefits, is that you can save a lot of money over the year by not having to buy the fresh fruit, and your family can adapt. My wife has adapted very well, and my children, they just accept it as the normal. Hey, you eat canned and dried fruit, and throughout the year, and that's just what you have. And during the later part of the summer, then you start to get a little bit more some fresh stuff coming in. But it's very acceptable. And then you can also have fresh apples for quite a long time too. So there's a fresh fruit that you can enjoy as well. So the other benefit is that you're getting the fruit at its peak, where it's been picked at the right time. It's allowed to ripen, quite a lot before you dry it or can it, and so you get maximum sugar in there and flavor, and it's just very delicious fruit. When you go to eat it canned or dried or something like that, you're getting a lot of good nutrition in there because it hasn't been picked early. It's allowed to get more minerals and more calories even, so it's a good calorie source as well. So that's one of the benefits of that. And also it's just food security as well, that that for the next year that you have this food available. You don't have to rely on the grocery stores being out, or hey, the prices just went up because there was a shortage or a crop failure somewhere. Prices can change, and it's just also having more of a preparedness mindset, that you're not relying on other people to supply your needs. You're trusting God to provide the fruits that are available. He provides all this for us, and if we just say, I don't really, not interested, I want to go through the work, I just want to make it easy and buy everything that I need. Well, money isn't always
available to everybody. Some people, that have no trouble, always have money available. Others, have more of a struggle, and sometimes you don't always have, income to buy all this fresh fruit. And maybe that money should be going elsewhere rather than putting it into, your food bill every month. And so that can be a benefit there as well. And, like I said, just being prepared and, thinking about, not everything is going to be smooth sailing from here on out. We're already seeing that, there are shortages in the stores, and, if you're living in a city there, when there's rioting or bad things are happening, we don't know what's going to be in the future, but to know that you have a, food source that you can be there for up to a year, and know that you can have a good fruit source, and you can have, grains and such, and beans stored up, and to be a little more self-reliant will benefit you when bad things do happen in the economy or in the environment, where in certain parts of the country that, heavy producers like in California, droughts can happen, and, water shortages. And so we don't know what's in the future. We know that, the world is kind of decaying and things are getting worse in the environment, definitely, and even in the social, economic environment, these things are getting worse. And in the Bible, it gives us an overview and, lets us know what is coming. And, if we're Christians that are true to the, commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, we will be persecuted and asked to receive the mark of the beast. And so, if we want to be true to God, we're going to be cut off from those supplies that are in the world. Being able to buy what we need just when we need it, that will be cut off. Electricity will be cut, or any kind of outside influence, ability to get fresh fruit. So being able to have the skills ahead of time to know how to, dry and to can. Canning is something you can do without electricity. All you need is, a heat source. You can make a fire. And so that's something you can do regardless of if you can buy or sell. Drying is a little more difficult, but it can be done with the sun. So I encourage you to start practicing fruit drying. I hope this video was a good tutorial for you and gave you the tools you need to start preserving your harvest today. I pray that God will preserve you as well through the hard times ahead, and that you will be faithful to Him. God bless, and I will see you next time.